I wanted to show you guys, I got this Wen Lumberjack Chainsaw. Turns out it was sold by Menards and Sears. But I got this one here for 15 bucks at a yard sale. It didn't run. I pulled it over, it seemed to have compression, seemed like it would run. Anything I find online says that they're a cheap saw, la da 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 da. And yeah, maybe I believe that. It says it's a model 3818, which means it's a 18-inch bar. I mean, they use an Oregon bar. It's a good bar. And on the over here, they make a list. It says important engine information on this little tag here. It says EPA regulations for 2009. It complies. Emission compliance period 50 hours. Gives the engine family the engine displacement, which is 46.4. Date of manufacture 8 of 2009. Exhaust emission control and lubrication requirements that it gives a little bit of. Like I said, hard to find anything on it. What happened to this saw is what they do is they have a little breather on the fuel tank that sits inside of here, like a little exhaust port for pressure. And from there they have a fuel line that goes up to the carburetor, and then they have a fuel line that comes out of the carburetor and goes to this primer bulb. And I'll take the top off here and actually kind of show you in there. But there's two little gas lines down in here where I inserted the screwdriver, and the other fuel line is up down in there where I put the screwdriver in. There's that little port there, it's kind of white, and there's that fuel line that comes off of there. Well, what had happened is, and it seemed kind of weird to me, this primer bulb over here wouldn't get any fuel in it. I could pop this air cleaner and dump fuel down the carburetor and get the saw to pop and run, only for a little bit and die out. So I figured that when you take this side cover off, these lines fall off of this here. The lines were non-existent, they weren't here. So I put a piece of return line in, and I put a piece of line from the carb to this, and I pumped it up. Yep, it works. So I slapped this cover on, and they have the little line for the or the little wire that goes to the coil, and then this coil wire that go in between this piece of plastic right here and the yellow plastic. And if they're laying in here, they get hit by the flywheel. So they make a track for them to lay in here. Well, these were laying out here. So somebody had jerked this off, telling me that the lines had fell off. They thought the lines were junk, so they threw them away. I put the new lines on, and when I put the new fuel lines on, I must have bumped the one when I turned this cover around to get it on, because it fell off, because it ran for like a second and then died out just like it was doing before. And I got to looking and noticed there was no fuel in there again. So I took that apart, and I went and found a little clip for these fuel lines. I actually buy bulk line, and I found that little clip to hold that fuel line on there. Put that on, and now this thing, I bet you'll start and run no problem. It has been all morning. And some people complain that they think that these things leak gas, but what actually happens is this little bitty breather that sits down in here. This little white guy, it's hard to see in this camera. He's down in that hole right there, in that little rubber plug. Anyhow, he actually drips gas out of there when you tip the saw on its side. So that's part of the issue. But they say to push this primer bulb 7 times. Yeah, I'll give it 7, what the heck. Pull this out, that sets the throttle. Make sure this little button's on. Let's set this thing down and see if it pops. You see my son Andrew's feet over there. He's standing here watching Dad. Just like that. I actually think it's as good of a saw as that piece of junk home light I have. Actually, that piece of junk home light that I'm talking about is not so much a piece of junk. In that one, I did a video where the clutch brake here was having an issue, and but this one seems all right. It seems to start up fine. They actually say on the saw to let it, in the starting procedures, to let it warm up for 30 seconds before you go to cut. So we'll see how this one works out. We'll put it to the test and see if I give it a better review than the damn Poland Pro that I have, or that home light that I have. But to tell you the truth, guys, when I was younger, I had a Husqvarna chainsaw, and when I was a teenage kid, and my dad run it over with a Heister forklift because it fell off the counterweight, and we're talking a 24,000 pound machine, and he ran it right over, packed it in the mud. I pulled that saw out of the mud, cleaned the mud out of it, and started it right back up. Didn't even bend the bar on that Husqvarna saw. That was a good saw. Believe it or not, somebody stole that damn saw out of the back of, or I don't know where they stole it, but they stole it. It was gone. But this here saw, I can afford to leave in the back of the truck. Like I say, I got 15 bucks in it. And it runs good. I carry a little Craftsman that is actually a home light. It's a 14-inch saw. Like that saw a lot. It's light. It's powerful for what it is, and use it quite a bit. But I'm curious to see how this will do out in the woods really cutting. Because we do that once in a while, believe it or not. And I mean, the weight's right. The anti-vibration seems right. It's got a nice bar on it. Everybody swears up and down at the saw that I read online because they can't get it to start, or they think it overheats, or they can't get the fuel cap off. Yeah, this one's tough to get the fuel cap off, but it's nowhere near as hard as that Poland Pro I got. And that damn saw I bought brand new, and it's just a piece of junk. That Poland Pro will run all day in the woods, but when it runs out of fuel, good luck getting fuel back in it. You need about a 1-foot bar to get on there to get that fuel cap off. And Poland's fix for the idea, or their idea for the fix, is buy another gas cap and put it on there. Well, this fuel is, expanding these gas caps, and I get that and understand that. But this saw, seems like it has good components in it. It lists, somewhere I read that, I think it was online that I read that it's got a Warblow carburetor. It's got, comes new from the factory that way. It's got an Oregon bar, new from the factory that way. So I don't know. Maybe it is a cheap $129, $149 saw, but we'll see how it cuts and what it does. Well, later.